Hello, hello, everyone. Happy Friday or happy whatever day it is you're watching this on replay. I am so excited to be here for yet another live show with you all. And I see we've got the ever wonderful Corbin in the chat. Thank you so much. Yes, indeed. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe as you hop in here, because I think you'll like this show. Which today we are exploring the topic of the future and future timelines. Pulling in the quantum element and how quantum leaping figures into all of this, and what also you can gain from the future and from exploring the future in this way. So welcome in, everyone. So good to see you. Please let me know in the chat what your experience is with the future. Have you had visions? Have you had a tarot reading? Have you had a future life progression session? Let me know in the chat. Let me know down below in the comments. Definitely love to hear your experiences. Oh, and we have Soul Family in the chat. Hello, Seema. So good to see you. Thank you so much for stopping in. And yes, indeed. Thank you, Corbin, for the reminder, although I would have remembered because it's tomorrow. So on the topic of the future, please make sure you guys grab your tickets to my Future Life Progression workshop that's happening tomorrow. I will pull up the screen here. Well, before I pull that screen up, remember that bookings are available as well as more information on my practice on my website here. And the Future Life Progression Workshop. Here, let me pop this comment back down so you can see the full thing there. So tomorrow, April 19th, 3 p.m. Central Time, we are doing a Future Life Progression Workshop. So in this workshop, I'll not only be sharing some information around Future Life Progression, how it can be useful to you, tips and tricks for the hypnosis process, and how to get the most out of your experience, whether it be in this group session or in a one-on-one session. And then we'll do an exercise together that helps you to explore your senses and how you perceive and receive information when you're in a trance state. And then we'll also be going to a future lifetime. So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely feel free to check out my other YouTube shorts on this topic. I've released a few in the past couple of weeks, explaining a little bit more about the process and about the workshop itself. But I do hope to see you there. I know it's Easter weekend for some folks, so you might be busy with family or doing that sort of a thing. But if you're free, if you're available, it'll be a real good time tomorrow. And we've got Carl in the chat. Hello, hello. Good to see you. Thank you so much for stopping in. And let me pop my screen down here. And let's get into it. So, before I dive into the topic, don't forget next week on Friday, we are going live again, Corbin and I, for yet another moon show. So we're going to be talking about the new moon in Taurus. We're going to be leading you through the astrology as well as an activation. And if you weren't able to join our Libra full moon show, make sure you show up for this one because it's going to be great. It's really fun to get together, talk about the astrology, do an activation that's on theme with the moon and with what's going on in the sky, as well as what's going on inside of you. So definitely make sure you check that out. It's going to be at 5 p.m. again next week, trying out this new time to see if more folks are able to come live, because I know a lot of people work Fridays afternoons. So here we are. All right. Let's see. So today, like I said, we're exploring the future. I'm going to start by talking a little bit about Future Life Progression, or FLP, and what that is all about. And we've got Sylvia joining in the chat. Hello, Sylvia. So good to see you. So FLP is definitely something that as soon as I heard about it, as soon as I knew it was a thing, it caught my attention. I couldn't escape it. I was like, gotta learn this, got to explore this topic, because my journey with the future truly began when I was doing QHHT sessions, which is all around past life regression, and the goal is going to the past. And so I had a few clients that just spontaneously went into the future, and it was not something that that QHHT is specifically tailored for, but whatever experience comes up is the most appropriate, and it was in these clients' cases. But exploring the future in that way really got me intrigued at this concept. And when I found out that other hypnotists were deliberately taking people to the future and exploring this kind of that direction in the continuum as we understand it, I couldn't say no to learning that. So I trained with Anne Jersh. She's based out of London. She is a wonderful hypnotist as well as a wonderful person, and it was so cool to learn these techniques from her. And as I've started on my journey with this technique and helping clients with this, there's so many different things that you can gain from going to the future, and so many different bits of your life that you can gain insight in, gain clarity on. So, whether it's career and you're looking for insight or guidance on your career, going into the future helps you to not only see how your career might play out or how a job opportunity might play out, or even if you've maybe lost your job and you're in that kind of in between, like what's going on, where am I going, FLP can help you to tap into what's going to be that best job, best career, best fit for you. Relationships are another thing that we can look into with the FLP. So whether it's looking at your current relationships and how things change and evolve, maybe you're going through a tough period and you want to see how you get out of that. Or maybe you had relationship shakeups and maybe a significant other left your life, or maybe you had, a falling out with a family member or something like that. Well, tapping into the future allows you to see how not only how that plays out, but to get that hindsight, get that wisdom on how to resolve that. Or maybe you lost your relationship and now it's like, where do I find a new one, or where do I find that next partner for me in life? Relocation and like finding a new house is another real awesome way that FLP can help you. And I've used this myself, sessions of my own, kind of looking into where should I move and what do those situations look like. And you're tapping into possible futures. And so if you see like, oh, I moved to this city that I hate, well, you don't need to follow that timeline. You don't need to tap into that. And we'll get more into kind of aligning with the timeline, syncing up with that, taking those quantum leaps further on in the show. But other things that FLP can be useful for would be things like business planning, or tapping into the next big idea. This is definitely something that I'm super interested in exploring with clients, as well as more in like the corporate business world, is how do you use this technique of tapping into the future to figure out what is that next big idea. We are living in such fast-paced times where things are switching up and changing so frequently, and you know the I feel like the old ways of planning just aren't cutting it anymore. And so this is something that I'm definitely interested in going in deeper with. So if you are out there and you're like, ooh, that's kind of my thing, or I'd love to explore business ideas, please hit me up. I would love to do a session with you, exploring those topics or tapping into whatever your industry is. What's that next big thing, so you can get ahead of the curve? And that's really what working with the future allows you. And so, people oftentimes are more familiar with tarot or other forms of divination. Maybe you've went to see a psychic who tapped into your future. These are definitely viable options, but there's something different when you're tapping in yourself and when you're not only seeing and experiencing that future, but you're tapping into the feelings and the emotions and just like the vibration of that future. And so I think it's just a much more powerful way than kind of secondhand. So we'll get more into that. Beyond that, especially when we're talking about future lifetimes, it's it's a lot about tapping into that soul's potential, your soul's evolution, and understanding kind of insight into that arc that your soul's going on, and seeing what you're up to next to help you understand what's going on in your current life and understand kind of that arc or that story. Give me one moment here. All right. So beyond kind of the different uses for FLP, a lot of people are unsure about the future or what that might look like. It's really very similar in process and technique as past life regression. It's mostly about the intention and where we're focusing and how we're going in. And I definitely think that that it's a different vibration, it's a different feeling when we're tapping into the future. A lot of times with past life stuff, those are the things that you need to release, the things you need to move past from, the things that are maybe weighing you down or are patterns or situations or experiences that you're stuck in that you need to shift past and move past in order to let go of that lesson or that experience. With the future, it's really tapping into the potential and into like the highest timeline, the highest possibilities for you, because obviously we don't want to tap into the lowest possibility or those negative timelines. Because we want to manifest what's best for you and what's going to be the most beautiful and wonderful future experience. And so really we go in with a lot of intention when we're exploring the future. Sorry, I'm on a roll here. Catch it up in the chat. Corbin saying excited to share with the new moon or share the new moon with y'all next week. Indeed. Indeed, indeed. Thank you, Seema. I'm not sure which one you were specifically referring to, but I hope it was the business one because I think it's super cool. Because there's so many different ways, and I feel like there's more possibilities than just this. It's almost like unlimited possibilities with the future and with time in general. But it's so cool. All right, I don't want to get too deep in here. Moving along, future timelines is the next kind of topic that I wanted to talk about in regards to future life progression and this idea of tapping into the future, which I definitely find brings in those ideas of like determinism or fate versus free will. And I always like to start, whether it's a one-on-one session or in a group setting like this, discussing the future by saying, first and foremost, the future is not set in stone. There's infinite possibilities going on. And, quantum physics definitely helps us to understand this to an extent. I think there's still more beyond that we don't fully grasp or fully understand. But I think it helps us to understand at least a little bit more the possibilities that are out there and how these sorts of things work. And so I have a video that I'll play for you guys in a little bit around that topic. And I'm sure you guys are somewhat familiar too, because it's such a fascinating topic to explore the quantum. But I believe that everything is happening everywhere all at once. And that is a movie. It is a wonderful movie. And I definitely recommend that you check it out if you haven't, because I think it's one of those movies that kind of soft disclosure the reality that we're actually living in, where they share some of what is actually going on, and kind of like softly slipping it in there in like a fictional sense to soften the blow of like, whoa, this is crazy for my brain to understand, right? Yes, and Seema's loving it. Yeah, was a great movie, wasn't it? I want to watch it again. I haven't seen it in a moment. But I definitely think that at a certain level, I mean, of course, from our physical perspective here, the linear timeline, the process of like past, present, future is helpful for us in the structures of our reality and moving through this soup of the quantum that we're in. But I believe that essentially our past, our present, our future, all of our lifetimes are happening all at once, and that is how we're able to tap in. So it's not that we're literally time traveling and uh, picking ourselves out of the timeline and shifting back to drop in at the past. It's really about tapping into that quantum web of interconnectedness, of energy, of frequency, to then either find the past, find the future, tap into parallel lives. Oh my God, Corbin! After we rewatched Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Sorry, I'm talking too fast here. We watched Chitty Chitty Bang Bang again because it was free on YouTube, and I haven't seen that movie since I was a kid. And let me tell you, it is wild. It is wild. Number one, I didn't remember how many musical numbers were in that thing. But just the plot line, the symbolism, I mean, definitely the occult symbolism going on in that film is undeniable, at least in my opinion. I definitely would love to see someone deep dive, analyze that film. But anyway, such a good to have your eyes kind of reopened if you haven't seen it in a while and you want to look at it from a new perspective. It's a wild film. Anyway, all that aside. Ah, yes, Sylvia. It was Sylvia's favorite movie as a kid, right? I loved it too. I loved it, though I was terrified of the child catcher. And he is equally as terrifying as an adult, I will tell you. I mean, that prosthetic nose and just the vibe and the energy. Corbin pointed out that he has like a sickle, which is very much Saturn symbolism. And Saturn, we know, was Kronos who ate his children. So it's very much like that child eating thing. Anyway, it's wild, wild. All right, getting off into the weeds here, but it's just fun. It's fun to dip our toes into these things. But getting back on track here, I think when we're tapping into past, present, future, and we're doing this through hypnosis, or if you're doing this, in meditation, because certainly you can put yourself into a trance, do that self hypnosis work, and go in and explore yourself. I find that this sort of work through time works really well when you have a guide, when you have that support to ask questions, to kind of help you stay focused and follow the trail. But certainly something you can explore on your own too. Um, I think that when we're tapping in, what we tap into and which timeline, whether it be past, present, future, or that parallel lifetime, it's really about our frequency. It's about our resonance. And based on what resonance we're at, what frequency we're at, that determines which timeline we're on. And I think that it's really about our consciousness shifting between timelines based on that frequency match, that resonance match. And I definitely think that we are going through and slipping like into different timelines like every single moment. I think in these minuscule ways we can go from timeline to timeline in like multiple times in a second. And I was watching Lisa DiMartino over on Deep Dives in the Desert. She was talking about timelines and that sort of thing, and she was definitely saying that she feels it's a similar energy. She was sharing some experiences from her clients and her own experiences in meditation too, and this idea of switching timelines and jumping timelines probably very quickly and much more than we necessarily realize. And that's where the Mandela effect. I was watching a video earlier today around this topic and the quantum and timelines, and they were talking about the Mandela effect and the ways that those sorts of memories that are not like at a disconnect with the current reality are memories that are left over from that timeline jump, that timeline switch. I saw one about Fruit of the Loom and their logo, which I don't know if y'all saw that one. It was a while ago, but they were saying that some people remember there being a cornucopia in the logo, but I guess there never has been. And I'm one of those people that fully remembers the cornucopia. Like I remember that. And so it's those sorts of things that I think clue us into these timeline switches. And sometimes it's more apparent than other times. I think that oftentimes these things happen very unconsciously, very subconsciously, because let's be honest, if we were aware of all of the timeline switches and the different maneuvers that we've gone through this quantum web, I think it would be overwhelming for us. I think we would have a really hard time, staying focused on our reality, on our day-to-day life, on the lessons and the experiences that we're learning here, right? So there's some of that where it's like, probably better that it happens more subconsciously. But I think especially when we have those more collective splits or those collective shifts, that's when we can maybe feel the energy a little bit more. Ooh, I love this. Seema is saying Black Mirror season 7, episode 2 shed some light on Mandela effect. I will have to check that out because you're the second person this week to have mentioned Black Mirror to me, which I know it just came out, so I think a lot of people are talking about it. But yeah, definitely a show that I haven't watched in a moment because there was a time where it was just a little too close to reality, and I was like, I don't necessarily want to like dwell on it. But I've heard that the most recent season is really great. Oh, this is so awesome. Sylvia is saying the Mandela effect kind of started my spiritual conspiracy journey. I found it so fascinating, right? Those moments, those little bits of those moments that shake us out of the stupor, and those like breadcrumbs that we leave ourselves to help us remember, right? Great stuff. And Seema says agreed 100%. Yeah, right. All right. Let's see. I'm getting off into the weeds here. So all in all, with the collective versus individual, I think there are individual reality shifts and individual timeline jumps, and then there's those collective ones as well. And I think that it's like a very convoluted web of happenings and of situations and moments. And I think that ultimately it all works together for all of our good and all of our experiences and lessons that we're here learning in this Earth school. And I really think, on the one hand, that all of it's simpler than we think it is, because it's really all about frequency, and it's about that resonance and energy. And I think when we're looking at it in that sort of a lens, it's very intuitive. It's very much about the flow, and it just makes sense in more of a simple way. But I think also it's more complex in that there's just so much going on when we think about all of reality, every single timeline, every person's single timeline, every collective timeline, all of that happening all at once. I think when we take a step back and we try to look at all of that, it can be overwhelming, and it can be a very complex thing for us to try to wrap our human conscious minds around. And that's where, our higher selves have more of an awareness and more of an understanding of that, because they are at a different frequency, at a different level, and their consciousness is more expanded and more on that collective level, and able to handle a little bit more. But it's such a fascinating topic, I think, and I really love exploring the quantum time through that higher self lens, through the hypnosis lens. But right now, I wanted to share with you guys a video that I found that talks a little bit about the quantum physics, the quantum mechanics of timelines, and of the multiverse. And so I tried to find a shorter one, and so hopefully this all works here. I'm pretty sure as soon as I hit share, it is going to start playing. So let me hit play here. Right. There we go. And just give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear all right. Oh. We got ads, of course. Sorry, guys.
There are places on...
Here we go.
If you're not ready for a mind, then keep scrolling, because it's about to get a little bit out there. There's this theory in quantum physics that says we might all actually be immortal. Hear me out. You know Schrodinger's cat, where there's a cat in the box with a vat of poison, and until someone opens the box, the cat is both alive and dead in a state of quantum superposition. Well, in 1957, Hugh Everett proposed the many worlds interpretation, where in this case, once you open the box, there's a timeline where the cat lives and a timeline where the cat dies, but they don't split until the box is open. This would mean there is an infinite amount of realities branching off every single day into a multiverse. And then there's you. Have you ever walked down the street and felt like you almost got hit by a car? Well, quantum immortality says that there's a good chance in one timeline you did. But every time you get knocked off, your consciousness immediately travels into a timeline where you didn't. This continues on and on for infinity, with your conscious mind always finding a way into a timeline where you made it. If you're not ready for a mind, then keep scrolling, because it's about to get a little bit...
All right. So I feel like it's such an interesting, it's just such an interesting way of understanding our realities. And I think that the more that we can at least be open to this possibility, this idea of timelines and of the multiverse and the ways that we're connected to these different lifetimes through the quantum, I just think that it allows us to have even more empowerment and even more conscious ability to work with these different timelines and these different versions of ourselves. And I definitely think that there is just an infinite possibility of how this can benefit us. And I think that we're at a time where more and more we're being called to tap into more of our multidimensional self, tapping more into our quantum selves, and really not only healing and working through stuff from our past lives, from these lifetimes that are chronologically behind us, but it's also about tapping into our future so that we can have that broader vision and understand our our place in this ever evolving, ever uh this immortal being that we are, right? um so hopefully that all makes sense. I really enjoyed the way that guy broke it down, and I really think all of this is pretty wild. The concept of the multiverse, of timelines and timeline jumping, it's just so cool. And I definitely think that um, there's so much more that we're going to discover as we move through time. And I think that as the timing is appropriate and right, this knowledge will be unlocked. We will be remembering more and more, and be able to work with this even more and more. Oh, Carol's here. Hello, Carol. So good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. Um, so like I said earlier, I think that whenever we talk about the future, the topic of determinism versus free will, or that fate versus free will discussion comes up. And I definitely think that it's more nuanced than black and white, because there are those moments where our higher self kind of yanks us by the chain and says, "Nope, we're going this way. We agreed to go this way. We're going this way." Or they force you into a situation that is an experience that you agreed to have, or a lesson that you chose to have. But I think that our free will comes in the sense that we are able to um, essentially choose the path that we want to follow to learn that lesson. Or there are choice points within this. There's some flexibility in the plan, if that makes sense, within the lessons that we've agreed to learn. I think too, though, that there is free will to choose not to learn those lessons. There is the ability to decide, I'm not going down that path, or I'm not doing that. uh, and I think that that can happen at the personality level, at the more conscious mind level, but it can also happen at the higher self level. I think that's a little bit beyond the scope of this conversation, but within our conscious choices, typically when we decide not to learn a lesson, when we decide not to follow through with that, we end up going back to that lesson in a future lifetime. And so that's where, if we are here for the experience, if we're here for the lesson, sometimes those lessons are tough. But if we put our will to it, if we go after that lesson, if we do our best to learn it, that means that we don't have to return again and redo that lesson in a future lifetime. And it's really, again, it's not about like being forced to. This is all about our choice, and at that soul level we've chosen these lessons. So definitely go check out my karma videos, both the karma and animals video, and then the one before that, karma and relationships, because I talk a little bit more about the kind of free will piece, the choice piece, and how karma plays into that. But I think that there are definitely moments where we exercise our free will, and we can flex against that fate or that higher self plan that we've decided on. Um, but definitely let me know down in the comments if you guys are interested in more of the fate versus free will discussion, because I think there is more to expand upon there, and I'd love to talk more about it. So let me know down in the comments if you like the sound of that. But I think when it comes to future timelines and tapping into these possibilities, whether it be within a one-on-one session or in a group experience like I'm going to have tomorrow with the folks who have purchased tickets, um, you can always choose something different to manifest a different future. So I think that that's sometimes uh, where fear of the future comes in, because in some circles, in some belief systems, there's this idea that the future's locked in. And so once you see it, it's like, well, that's going to happen. And I saw this bad thing happen, or I saw, you know, this situation not work out the way I wanted it to. And now I'm locked into that. No, it's very much about free will. It's very much about, if you don't like that future that you see, let's tap into another one and let's manifest that. And I definitely think that uh, it's it's really about the intention going in as well. And I very much set the stage and create the space within a session as well as within the group workshop to manifest in that highest potential timeline. It's really about keeping the energy high, keeping the vibration high, so that we're tapping into the best possible. And if we aren't tapping into the best possible, then we're exploring an alternate timeline. We're taking hindsight from that future that you maybe weren't super jazzed about, and we're exploring a different option, exploring different possibilities for you, because again, there's infinite possibilities out there. And so if you don't like one, try another one. um, Thank you, Seema. It is interesting stuff. Truly. I think that, I mean, hypnosis is my jam. I love it. Past life stuff is so fascinating and so interesting. There's definitely a different vibe with the future, and I equally love exploring the future. And I think that, especially for those people who are really excited about the new earth or about this shifting reality, and looking to understand more of what's coming and more of those possibilities for themselves on an individual level. Sessions, the FLP sessions, are just so cool and wonderful and powerful to tap into that and anchor it in. But all in all, I definitely think that when we're talking about your power to shape the future, it's about not only shaping the future, but shaping your current life and your present as well. And that's really what I try to emphasize and really go after within sessions, as well as within the workshop setting as well. But it's really about, how do we bring actionable stuff back to your current life? The past is super cool and interesting. The future is fascinating and cool and amazing. But what does that mean for you here now, in the present moment, in your current lifetime, live in this physical reality that you're living? And so it's really about, how do we make that real for you? How do we find, when we're looking at the future, how do we find the actionable steps that get you there? How do we gain some insight and clarity into this, so that you know how to get to that point? And there is always some unknown when it comes to the future and the path that you'll take to uh, that point, or that experience, that trajectory. But as much as possible, we get you as much information as possible, and it is really cool to see what can come through within a future session. And I do have some client experiences that I'll be sharing in a moment as well. But when we're tapping in and when we're trying to shape the future, it's really about your thoughts, your emotions, your focus, the actions that you take. And it's about combining all of this to move towards that future, and shape your current reality, so that you're drawing that future towards you. So this is really where the idea of quantum leaping comes into the equation. And it's certainly, I think, a term that people use in different ways. And as far as I could tell, the general idea is essentially like shortcutting through the quantum, where you're collapsing timelines, you're condensing time to the point where you either immediately or very quickly get to that future point that you want. And there's definitely lots of different ways that people use quantum leaping and quantum jumping and this sort of a work, in different ways. But I think future life progression is a really amazing way to do it, and a really uh, particularly powerful way, because of the trance state that you're in, because you are syncing up your conscious and your subconscious mind to tap into these future possibilities, and to anchor them in, to connect with them, to establish that tie, so that you can then go after it, then you can then take the action and move towards it. Because, as I've explained, tapping into these possible future timelines, your frequency is determining that, your resonance is determining that. And so if you want to make that jump faster, it's really about anchoring in that frequency, really tuning into that, strengthening that, and continuing to focus on that, and building that up as you take those actionable steps towards it. Just catching up on to the chat here. Yeah, Sylvia, it'll be great to see you there. Excited to get a peek into the future with you too. And oh, is this a question for me? Corbin, are you asking, will I share a future lifetime I've seen? Just confirm with me that I think that's what you're asking me, and I'm happy to do that for sure. Um, right, future stuff is fun. It is very fun. And yes, please like, share, subscribe. Thank you guys. Um, let's see, where was I? So how does this all work? I think I've talked in theory for a moment here, and I've kind of explored this idea of timelines and quantum and all of that. So how does this work? How does one use future life progression, whether it be in a group setting or in a one-on-one session? How do we use that? And I think that first and foremost, it's about helping you to tap into that timeline that you want to manifest. So there's a couple different ways that I use FLP within my one-on-one sessions. There's the future lifetime. We can take you to alternate futures. We can take you to 5 and 10 years into the future. And with this, there's the ability to kind of tailor it to you and what you're looking for, and kind of what your questions are, what your goals are within the session. So approaching a session where someone's really focused on their career is going to look different than someone who is looking at moving situation, or someone who is coming with feeling very heavy, needing some hope, needing some inspiration from the future. I would likely take you into a future lifetime first, to help you to see that beyond your current lifetime, to see that future that's out there waiting for you. So beyond that, once we've tapped into that, and like I said, if we tap into something and you're like, this isn't it for me, this isn't what I imagined, or or this isn't the best that I can imagine, I'm gonna do more than this, I want more than this. That's where alternate futures and tapping into alternate timelines is super helpful, to help you kind of compare. And again, once we tap into it, it's about gaining some insight for you, gaining some advice. So if we're looking at the future in this current lifetime, we're asking your future self, what advice do they have for you? What choices do they wish they'd made that they hadn't, or what regrets do they have? What do they wish they'd changed on their current timeline? And with that insight, with that wisdom from your future self, then we're able to adjust and kind of tune our frequency, tune into that other timeline where you made those different choices, where you followed that path. So I certainly think that it's very much about, again, anchoring it into your current lifetime, because it's all well and fine to go into the future of the past, but what does that mean for you here and now? And so one of the ways that we work with this, and is the questions that we ask within your session. And so it's about not only exploring what does that future look like, but how did you get there? What are the steps you took? If you're looking at like business ideas, or insights for your career, asking for those questions, really tailoring it to specifically what you want to know, and what you're looking to get out of the future. And beyond that, especially when we tap into that best possible future, when we tap into that future timeline that you're so excited about, that is beyond your wildest dreams, we want to anchor that in. And so I've talked about this on other shows that I've discussed the future on, but FLP uses some neuro-linguistic programming techniques within it. And so for those who don't know, neuro-linguistic programming is essentially reprogramming your thoughts and reprogramming your emotional responses to things. And so within the framework of FLP, we use what's called anchoring, to anchor in that timeline, to essentially kind of connect you to that timeline, to allow you to have a tool to use in your current lifetime to tap back into that and to refocus on that future. because the more that you can focus on it, the more you can, point your attention towards that trajectory, the more sure you are going to be on that path, and the quicker that it's going to come to you. And, I think that that's where elements of the quantum come into this too, because I've seen with clients that they almost always access these future possibilities, whether it be career or relationship or whatever we're looking into. They access it sooner than that timeline. So maybe they looked at it and it was 5 years down the road that they were going to get that job. They're getting it into, and so there's definitely something to be said about anchoring that in, about tapping into that future, and continuing to do that in your daily life after the session, so that you maintain your focus on that, you maintain your attention, your energy, so that you can keep flowing towards that future. So I think it's really all about giving you the tools within the session, within your experience with FLP, to then take that into your life and have those tools to continue the work, because it really is so much more effective when you're you're doing your homework, as they say, continuing to focus on that future and taking the action towards it. Will of course build that. And I'm definitely excited. In a couple weeks, I have a special guest, Leah Reinhardt, coming on the channel. She's a tarot reader as well as a manifester extraordinaire, and so we're going to talk all about manifesting and this idea of not only the feeling, the emotion, tapping into it, but that action piece is going to be something that I want to dig into with her as well. So it's going to be really cool. All right, so let's dive into some class. Oh my gosh, y'all, I can't speak today. Let's dive into some client experiences, some real life session stories. And Corbin didn't follow up with me, so I'm going to assume that he meant this as a question for me. And if y'all want to share in the chat too, please share a future lifetime that you've seen. But I think that for me, the future lifetime that has stuck with me the most, because I've explored all the different kind of avenues of FLP when I was training in it. We did swaps and such, and then practicing with other practitioners after the fact. I tapped into, all of the different alternate futures. I've tapped into, oh, he said, yeah, you, cool. I've tapped into alternate futures. I've tapped into my past lives as well, but I've also gone into the future lifetimes. And I will say that I was kind of surprised at how powerful it was, truly. And this is coming from me, a hypnotist. I know how powerful hypnosis can be and these experiences can be. I've experienced them myself. I've led clients through them, but there was just something about tapping into that future lifetime, and like I can still picture it in my head, because it was just so beautiful. And I saw myself, I was like middle aged. I was, a little bit older than I am now, and I was on a beach. It was nighttime, and I was like sitting in the sand, and it was just so quiet and peaceful. And I got the sense that I was living on the beach, which, number one, was just such a dream to hear, because I have always dreamed of living on the ocean or on the beach. I would love to do that. Maybe not necessarily right now, because there's some shakeups happening on our earth, but that was the first thing where I was like, ooh, I love this future. This future lifetime is going to be so cool. And it was fascinating because we dug into a little bit of like what I was doing, what was my career, and we found out that I was working with energy and working with the heart in some capacity, and it was really about heart energy, like Merkaba stuff. I didn't get all of the specifics, because I think that there's some evolution to our knowledge between now and then, and so it wasn't all like spilling in immediately. But the cool thing was that I had written a book in this lifetime, and it was just so funny, because I remember saying to the practitioner, I was like, I feel like I'm too young to have written a book. Like, I, but I guess I wrote a book and it's pretty successful. And afterwards, the practitioner that I was swapping with, she was like, "Do you remember saying that? Do you remember saying you were too young?" And it was a moment where she pointed out the lesson that I'm learning in this lifetime as well, that no one's too young to share what they have to say and to share their opinions and their wisdom. Age is but a number. We've all lived so many lifetimes, right? We've all lived all of the lifetimes if we're looking at it from that everything everywhere all at once perspective, right? And so it was great to see, that I'd overcome that, that I wrote that book in that lifetime, and that I very much took that as a sign that I was going to work through that lesson in this lifetime and kind of break that pattern. Even though my conscious mind, as it saw that future lifetime, was kind of getting triggered by that. The other piece that was super cool about this was that I got the sense that I was in Australia, that I was on the beach in Australia, and I love Australia. I thought about moving there for a good chunk of my 20s because I just loved the idea of, like, the vibe there. I saw a couple movies that took place there, and so it was cool to see that my self, my future lifetime self, was going to live there, and was kind of a relief to me because I felt some of the pressure to, like, have all the experiences now, and that was one of the reminders that my future self had, was like, don't worry, you don't have to do it all in this lifetime. You've got plenty of time. It'll happen when it needs to happen. And so yeah, it was a really cool experience for sure. Oh my God, Sarah. Sarah's here. Hi, Sarah. It was a cool session. Sarah was the practitioner that I swapped with for that. Oh my gosh, how funny. So glad you're here. Thanks for watching. Yes. Beautiful Oak Beach, North Queensland, Australia. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. I'm catching up here. It's awesome. Jake did it 20 years ago. You'll love falling asleep to the waves. I know. I know. Truly. So cool. Oh, and Sylvia hyping me up. Thank you, Sylvia. I appreciate you. It's not even Mercury retrograde anymore. I can't blame it on that. It's just my mouth moving slower than my thoughts are moving, when that happens. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Sylvia. I could definitely see you writing a book. You got so much knowledge and great info to share. I'm working on it. I've got a couple ideas that I'm noodling, so more to come on that. Um, okay, let's see. What time are we at? 5:47. So I want to share a couple other. I mean, I shared my own session, so that counts, right? I want to share a couple other sessions that were really inspiring. So one of them was, it was actually during a QHHT session. So the goal was to go to the past, and this client ended up going to the future. And in the early days when I was practicing QHHT, this was fun when it happened, and kind of funny because it sometimes took me a moment to realize that we were in the current lifetime. And so I remember some of the questions that I asked her, where in hindsight didn't make any sense because it was her, like it was just her in the future. But I didn't know that. I thought we were in a past life. So it was interesting from that regard. But she was shown her future in this current lifetime, all around, because she was worried about the change that was coming. She wanted to move, and she wanted to move out of the country, to join her husband, who was living in a different country. And she wasn't sure how it was going to happen, how it would feel. And during the session, she was shown quite a few different scenes from this lifetime, and was shown the different different moments during that experience. And it was not necessarily big and spectacular. It was kind of everyday moments, but those moments that stood out to her. And um, she was shown it happening. She was there, the house they were building. She was shown some of her family coming down to visit. And she was even shown some of the challenge that she might face when she made this move, which was making friends and building a community down there. And so I wanted to play a clip here, when I asked her higher self because again, this was a QHHT session. So I asked her higher self, why did you show her this? Why this lifetime? Why this future lifetime? So let me play that quick, and then we'll continue here.
We picked this lifetime because she's got a lot of fear about moving forward to live in El Salvador. She is holding on to an unnecessary belief that she needs to remain in the US. And she's holding on to an unnecessary belief that she is safer in the US than she would be down there. We wanted to show her that making the move can be a good and healthy choice for her and her relationship with her husband.
So it was clearly what she needed. It was clearly what she needed to see to have that courage to move forward and to build that life that she was looking to build. And so she was also given advice after this around that challenge of making that community, of building those friends, and uh, she was basically told the formula to avoid that. And they shared that she needed to be open, she just needed to be friendly, that if she closed herself off, then she wouldn't build those connections. And so sometimes the advice from our higher selves is pretty straightforward, is pretty simple. But that's because it's not always rocket science. It's not always a riddle that we're being called to solve. Sometimes it's pretty straightforward and simple what we need to do to change something. And that's where tapping into the future, getting that hindsight, getting that future perspective, it's just so powerful. And catching up on the chat here, Sarah saying, hi, I remember it well. So beautiful to feel your energy in that future lifetime. I agree. Feeling it for myself too was just so powerful. It really was. Corbin saying Mercury, Neptune. Oh, because of my words and my brain moving faster than my mouth. Could very well be. Seema saying, I've been having a lot of flashbacks. Wish I knew why, but they pop up at the strangest of times. Like flashbacks from your past current life or past lives. I definitely would say do your best to analyze them, or see what's showing up, and if there's any echoes in your current life, whether that be emotional ties or situations or patterns that you're noticing. Beyond that, if you're struggling, I mean, definitely meditate, ask your higher self for insight. I'd be happy to explore this topic with you in a session as well. That's where sometimes tapping into the subconscious and tapping in that way can help too. So definitely let me know if you're interested. Corbin saying, thank you for sharing these clips. Really powerful to hear. I know it takes a little work for me to pull those clips together sometimes, but I think it's so impactful to be able to hear the clients' voices saying these things. You know, I love narrating and I love, talking. As you can tell, I'm here 53 minutes in and I still have pages to go in my notes, but that's fine. It's just different when we get to hear the clients talk, and especially when we're speaking with the higher self. Like let me know if you agree in the comments, but I think you can hear that difference. And it's probably a little easier for me because I know the client's voice versus their higher self, and like I'm there for that kind of switch. But definitely, if you're watching any of my other videos that I've made, you can hear that difference between like the experience, the past life, or whatever it might be, and then the higher self discussion too. Seeing me saying, yep. Okay, so probably about that. Okay. Love it, y'all. Love it. Okay. I know, right? Seema, it just flies. And I feel like I'm talking, mile a minute, and there's still more that I want to say, but I guess that's why it's great that I get to come back next week, right? I could come back more often too, but that just means more preparation. And yeah, y'all, I'm trying to have a client practice as well too, right? So all right. So last thing I'll say on that idea of relocating, moving, gaining insight through future life progression, I think that so much of our fear comes from the unknown. And when we're able to get a glimpse into that future, it demystifies it a little bit. It illuminates a little bit of that path. And you're never going to know every single step. You're never going to know the complete, map to that future, because we're here to live. We're here to experience it as we go. And you do have access to that map at a higher self level, but whether or not your conscious mind is going to get that, probably not, because we need to be able to move through our lives. But I think that it's just such a valuable tool to demystify and kind of pull back the curtain a little bit on what that future could be, and allow you to have some more courage with it. So the other session that I wanted to talk about here before we go, I had a client who came to me and we looked at 5 and 10 years into the future for her. And she was looking for insight into a variety of things, but the main things were her career, some of her relationships and partnerships, trying to get some insight into what's coming ahead, and what should she focus her energy on, where should she put her attention, and what's going to be best to build, right? And so, sorry, y'all, I get so distracted by the chat sometimes. Oh, Emma, so good to see you. Hope you're doing well. I assume you're still in California. I hope you're doing well out there. Sorry, I missed this. I'll try to make it next week. Would love to see you next week. I'm starting to do 5 p.m. And seems like it is better for a lot of people. So let me know down in the chat or in the comments, is there a best time for you? I can't do it all, but I can definitely try. People talking about reading, right? I know, I do too. So in this session, we were asking questions around her career, around her relationships, and it was really cool because one of the opportunities that presented itself in her session, this was something that she had an inkling about. It was like the seeds had kind of been planted, but she saw it coming to fruition, and she saw it really blossoming. And this was around essential oils and kind of her business within that. And it was really cool because I talked to her not that long afterwards, and she had big strides in that path, and she had opportunities pop up. She had people come into her life that were just really helping her to create that vision and create that future. And it was just so cool to hear that that confirmation that what she saw came in, and it came in pretty fast too. I also was able to talk with her. Oh, here, let me play the clip before I share that next piece. But I did want to play this brief clip from her session, because she was talking about some of the regrets that she had, or that was the question I asked her. Do you have any regrets? And so let me play that quick.
Only that I wished I had learned my lessons sooner, so I could be in this space longer, but no, just keep doing my best. Keep trying and, shed that need to prove myself to others, because it's really what's important is how I feel about myself.
I'm smiling because she yawned so much during that session. I think she was just tired. I mean, she had talked afterwards. She's like, "Sorry for yawning so much. I think I'm just like a little sleepy." But she was like yawning on and off throughout the whole session. I mean, she had no problem like staying awake and like staying in the trance state, but but yeah, she was sleepy. And it kind of happened on and off throughout the whole session. It was kind of funny. The ways that different people react to trance state, and the ways that different people are, you know, express themselves in that place, in that state, is always unique. It's always something different. I've only had one person like almost fall asleep, and they only almost fell asleep during like the very beginning of the session, when it's a lot of me like calming you and relaxing you, right? The induction portion. And he did fall asleep, but I just, I said his name a few times, and he kind of, woke up enough. It was kind of funny, but yeah, she was definitely yawning there. But all in all, that idea of releasing that part of her that that is people pleasing, that is really focused on what other people think and how other people perceive her, was something that stood out to me, because she said other than that, she didn't really have all that many regrets. And it was just so cool because I talked to her recently. This is actually a friend of mine, but she had said that she'd used the words basically like, "I'm no longer a people pleaser." Said that a few times during our conversation, and we were catching up. We were talking about life, and it very much seemed like she'd released that pattern, that she had broken free of that. And so that idea of like wishing she'd done it sooner, I mean, maybe she wishes she'd done it even sooner than now, but with that hindsight, she was able to reflect and shift things. And again, it's about tapping into that frequency, that resonance, and and connecting with that so that you can then move even quicker towards that. So yeah, I had a few other experiences that I wanted to share, but I'll have to save those for another show. I mean, I love talking about the future, and I think that it's something that we can look at from so many different angles. So I'll figure out a way to work these into another show for y'all, because I definitely want to share more of those client experiences, because I know that for you watching this show, it's all well and fine to hear the theory behind it and me saying, all of my talking points about how great it is and how wonderful it is. But it's definitely different when you hear it from the client directly, when you hear those real life experiences, because those are real people. And although your situation probably isn't the same as theirs, you might be looking for different things out of a session. But I think that it helps to uh, demystify the process, right? Hearing about others' experiences and hearing about other session stories and how other people got value out of these experiences, I think is valuable to you all. So I hope you agree. Let me know in the comments below if you like hearing session stories, if you like the clips, because I definitely will do my best to bring more of them to you. I mean, this is some of the information that I love sharing the most, and the information that's unique to me, because these are sessions that I've facilitated for people. So all right. So I think kind of my closing thoughts here on future life progression, and this is whether you're joining us for the workshop tomorrow or you are coming in for a one-on-one session, it's really about helping you to narrow down your options, to kind of laser your focus on your goals, and um, focus your attention and energy in a way that allows you to get to that point. Because I think that a lot of people get stuck on manifestation in that it can be hard sometimes to just make yourself feel a certain way. It can be sometimes hard to stay regimented with tapping into that and reinforcing that. I mean, from what I know about manifestation, it can be intense work and can be something that you need to be disciplined with. And I think that with FLP, with hypnosis, it really allows you to get a leg up on the competition, and you don't need to imagine that feeling yourself. You can do that within a session, and I can help guide you and help you to access that, so that you can manifest even easier. And so if manifestation has been something that you've struggled with in the past, definitely check out my show with Leah in a couple weeks. And I should say she's my auntie Leah, if she's watching this. I love you, Auntie Leah. She's my aunt. So we are family, but I'm so excited to have her on talking about manifestation. It's going to be fun. Something that I don't know a ton about, but I know a bit. So it's going to be cool. But in regards to FLP, if you are looking for information, if you're looking for clarity, if you're looking for insight, wisdom, hope, courage, joy, these are all things that you can find in the future. And it's just so powerful to be able to tap into that and to use that to influence your current life and to fast track you onto the future timeline that you want. And again, this is something that you can switch and change. You can decide to do something different, you can follow your intuition and your gut and your higher self whispers to change your trajectory if you decide that you'd like to. But it's really about your empowerment and giving you the tools and the vision, the hindsight to be able to craft that future that you want. Because I think it's really such a powerful way to dispel any doubt, any uncertainty about your future, because you can see into it, you can tap into it, you can feel it, and you can gain insight from it. So yeah, FLP is super cool, y'all. It's super cool. And especially with the world that we're living in right now, I know that I have moments where the chaos that's going on around gets to me, and I think that most of us probably have moments like that where the world, the external world, just seems like a lot, and this really helps you to tap into something beyond just the current moment and what's going on right now. And with so much uncertainty, with, like I said earlier, the world changing so fast and so frequently, I just think that the old ways of planning, the old ways of brainstorming, the old ways of making our future happen, they're not cutting it anymore. And I think that that's why FLP is coming into our purview now. And it's certainly, been a moment that it has been coming in, but I think it's gaining renewed strength, and even more people are finding out about it. I mean, I found out about it pretty recently. And I think that it's just such a powerful tool that we're being called to use right now. So yeah, I just want to emphasize that you have the power to shift and change your reality. FLP and a session with me or the group workshop tomorrow is definitely a tool that can help. But remembering too that your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, the actions that you take day to day, like these are the things that build your future. And the more that you can align with the higher vibration, you can align with your higher self, align with the love, the light, like that's going to allow you to stay on track, stay on that timeline that you want to stay on. And I think with the future too, it's really important not to stress too much about it. I think that there can be a level of overthinking and overanalyzing when it comes to being too future focused. And this is definitely something I've dealt with in my life, where I'm just so focused on the future that I'm not living my present. And so I think that it's important to have a balance there. Don't take it too seriously, because remembering that we have support from our higher selves, from our guides, from our ancestors, from the spirit side. And we also have all of the tools that we need to live this life. So yeah, I think the message of hope and empowerment is what I want to leave you with. So if you're interested in your own session, or if you're interested in joining us for the group past life regression workshop tomorrow, let me just share my screen real fast. Make sure you join us tomorrow for that. That is happening at 3 p.m. Central Time. And of course, head on over to my website, my bookings page, to access any of those one-on-one sessions. Future Life Progression is right here. I do offer that remote as well as in person. And we can always start with that free preliminary consultation if you want to know more, if you want to ask some questions, if you want to determine what is going to be the best fit for you. Because I definitely believe that everyone can benefit from hypnosis. It's just a matter of, what are you looking for? What are you looking to gain out of it? Let's see, catching up on the chat here. Oh, thank you so much, Corbin. Let me get me back to full. Thank you, Seema and Sylvia. I really do appreciate you guys. And I am also looking forward to the show with Auntie Leah. And like Corbin says, she is a great reader. Corbin had his first reading with her this last weekend. Yeah. And a personal slogan of Corbin and I: the magic is you working with the universe. And it's so true. It is so true. Because magic is not outside of you. It is you. You are magic. Seema saying, we sure do. I've always said, be careful what you wish for. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I've done that before, where you're too focused on the negative thing and you draw that to you. So it's definitely an important thing to remember. Much love to everyone. Oh, thank you, Carol. Carol loved the clips as well. Definitely appreciate you all and your feedback. All right. Well, I hope to see all of you for the group workshop tomorrow. If you're busy and you aren't able to make it, hopefully you can come for the next one. And if you are interested, please book a one-on-one session. I am so in love with the future and I want to take you all there. So sign up for that free consultation or dive right in and book a session. It's going to be a great time. And I know that you won't regret it because diving into the future is great. On your way out, don't forget to like and subscribe, and please share in the comments below what stood out to you in this show. What did you like? What did you not like? What is your opinion on the future? Do you have a theory of the multiverse? Let me know down below. I love engaging with you all down there, and great to see everyone in the chat. Yes, great to see you as well, Sarah. Thank you so much for coming in. Yeah, the chat was great today. All right. Love you all. Sending you all of the love and light. Hoping you have a wonderful weekend or a wonderful week if you're watching this on replay, and I will see you very soon. All right. Bye, y'all.